Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Michael Lauber, as normal, and Terry has finally finished his gender-affirming care. He's back as our guest, so we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, hey, I'm Mickey Scornavaco. I'm from AntiochRepublicans.com. It's
Video that you sent the
one I sent you there with the
video that you sent the
the one I sent you there with the yeah. Could you run that?
Yep, give me 1 second. We'll get that rolling. Here we go.
In memory of Charlie Kirk, a fearless voice for free speech, personal responsibility, and American values. His commitment to engaging young people, challenging groupthink, and defending the Constitution left a lasting impact across the country. In that spirit, freedom, and an unapologetic love of America, his legacy continues.
So I think that's great. It was a great event. Sheriff Mendrick was there. We had a lot of people come out. I think we had a couple hundred people through the door, and it wasn't just one kind of person. There was one kind of everybody there, and it was fantastic. It just kind of speaks to what happens when local businesses kind of stop bending at the knee for all this nonsense we have here. Great time. I know Jim did.
Yep.
I want to thank Jim. He gave me a couple of challenge coins here. This one here is my favorite. It's the Sheriff. Fantastic human.
I got that. Give me a second. I'll get that up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then the next thing we'll talk about too, we'll wait for you to throw that image up, but while we're waiting for that, not to waste any time, the January 6th event, that is going to be a phenomenal event. We are going to have Sheriff Mendrick there. We're going to have Roman there, who's running for Lake County Sheriff, to get the guy who's here now. He's just a complete liberal. Between him and the state's attorney we have here, it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. I never thought I would say I would live in a crime-ridden county and have Lake County follow that, but it is. It's just every day shootings, robberies, beatings. It's become a mess, and we need better leadership. And I think Sheriff Mendrick's a great representative of that, and some of the stuff he's done in DuPage County. I hope if he gets in as the governor, he translates that to the rest of the state. Do you have any plans to implement anything different, Jim?
So, for public safety, there's actually three hemispheres are two, but three areas that I would really want to expand from what we're doing and have had success with. I'm sorry?
I'd say he got the picture up. We got the Trump 24. That's in front of Rabine paving, and then I'll go back to you now. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, no problem. The first thing, we created something called Merit out here. It's a Metropolitan Emergency Response and Investigative Team. What we did was, it was started about 7 years ago. As soon as I got elected, I was approached by a bunch of police chiefs who were really not happy with how little cohesion we had. As a cop, on a scene, we would show up in a multi-agency event, and those are the big ones, and say, hey, how do you breach a door? How do you make entry? And we're comparing notes for 3 to 5 minutes in a parking lot to make sure we're all on the same page. And we wanted things to be more consistent. We also lost a ton of cops during COVID. They were, when they started firing people for not being on vaccine schedules with the government and all that stuff, cops were quitting, and they did the Safety Act, and they tried to take away our qualified immunity. That hurt our profession so bad. My agency for a good 3-year period is down about 44 people. But what happened is we bounced back, and we bounced back because we didn't go along with the like-minded. I opened up laterals when that happened, so I started taking people back to us from Chicago. And when we did that, our response to COVID was different than everybody else's. We didn't have it in our jail. We had no COVID in our jail. We didn't get until Omicron. And we had successes having real science. So using real applications, we did in DuPage what is called consolidation. And that's always a scary word. When any elected official says that word to police, it usually means defunding. But what we did, we didn't defund. We took policing, and we took 40, I think it's 41 police agencies. That's like herding cats to get that many, chiefs of police, from Forest Preserve to all the different towns to me, all working, doing the same thing. But what we did was we wiped out all of our SWAT teams. We got rid of NIPUS, Fiat, our SWAT teams. We had 2 of them. We got rid of all the accident construction teams, everything that was what we call components, which means emergency stuff. It's not a 911 call for service. That's still up to the own agency. But anything that would require an emergency component response, we wiped out, melded them all together into one big unit called Merit. And we buy all of our equipment together, anything from bullets to tasers, all that stuff. We do bulk purchasing. When I go to the county board, I'm asking on behalf of me and 40 police chiefs of what we need, so we get our major, like Bearcats and total workstation stuff like that. We can get that as one communal voice because we're one big government. So what that resulted in was 3 times as many cops twice as fast, because you're getting cops who are either off duty at home or on duty, and it doesn't matter. It matters where they live, where they are. They start rushing in. When we had the Oak Brook Mall shooting, I think we had over 300 cops in 30 minutes. And that's because they all respond as one big voice. So you're getting twice as many cops 3 times faster without raising your head count. Also, with the bulk purchasing, it makes us cheaper. So these are things that could be replicated so easily. Can you imagine if we did something like that in Cook County and put them all under one big umbrella, at least where they're training, working, responding together? That would solve their, 5,000 cop down problem. It would solve a lot of it, at least for the big stuff. Like I said, terrorist attacks, riots, huge weather events. That's where that would all come into play. But the other thing that we could replicate that is saving a lot of taxpayer money, and I'm going to say it, it's doing God's work. In our correctional facility, that's half our business. And it's expensive. If I have an inmate that needs brain surgery, and believe me, they don't come in the best shape. We get people in beaten up on the brink of death, and then we have to take care of their medical. It's just part of it. So the shorter the stay, and if we can do rehabilitation through what we do with detoxification, what we do with mental health, what we do with our 200 counselors, training and teaching and educating, 80 classes per week, our gang tattoo removal, moving into the vocations and the indoor hydroponics, outdoor horticulture, small engine repair, welding, tiling, drywalling, sanitation. Those are $50,000, $60,000 a year jobs that they're getting when they're out 2 to 3 weeks. So you're converting your criminal population into your new working class. And you notice I said indoor hydroponics, outdoor horticulture, composting. See, what's happening here now is those jobs are being mostly taken by illegal immigrants, right?
Yes.
Because nobody wants them. So that they're filling that role in our economic society, and they're getting paid. They're not winning on this either. They're getting paid, pennies on the dollar of what somebody that's getting benefits and all that would get.
Well,
so
real quick,
what I offer to say is, how about give those jobs to our Americans that are incarcerated?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the one thing. That's one point that you've made over when we've interviewed you previously on here and on other programs that I really, really like, is you're creating opportunity for people that feel like they have none, that feel like the streets are their calling. You're giving them a job skill that immediately after they're being incarcerated, they can take out, support their family, get back on their feet, and it's something. It isn't just. It's something new. It's something that will continue, especially the hydroponics and horticulture. This is huge as farming's advancing and changing. This is giving them something, a skill and an opportunity they can move forward with, so they don't have to slide back into the lifestyle they left.
Yeah, it's proven in our recidivism rates. They went, our recidivism rates for criminality went down from 75 to 15%. And our heroin numbers right now went from 90, and I think they're running right around 22%. So, to get people, I have a jar of scrolls here. These are from inmates. All of these are what an inmate wrote to me to wish me well. I've got hundreds of these. These are testaments that these people, these men and women in our correctional facility have changed, that they're not anti-law enforcement. They're the one, they tell me they want to vote for me. I mean, it's crazy, but it's amazing, and I'll tell you what started all this for me and why this is a religious issue for me. When I first got elected sheriff, I was told by our state's attorney, so, the legal ruling for you that you're going to have to learn is that all those people in your jail are considered your wards. I'm like, pray tell, Mr. Berland, define that for me. Basically, what he said was that, I'm responsible for everything from their nutrition, their education, their health, their well-being. So I looked at this as, okay, you're pretty much saying I have the same responsibility that I would have to my own children. So I wanted to have a vessel that if, God forbid, one of my kids ever committed a crime and went to jail, this is the jail I would want my own children to be in. So I took that very seriously. So that's why we started to attack all these problems. We started interviewing every single inmate. I don't need some college kid at Purdue telling me how to do criminality. We do our own analysis, our own statistics. We interview every single inmate when they come. Why are you here? It's sad, though, that probably 60% of them say they're in jail because they were sodomized at the age of 6 years old and put on fentanyl or heroin or some kind of dope at 10 or 11 years old. That's the driving reason for so much crime and sex and drugs at a young age.
Jim, can I jump in for a second? Because you had mentioned fentanyl and that. What are you seeing? I've got it's a two-tiered question. First off, I watch religiously every time they blow up one of these drug boats, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I don't care if people think that's harsh or mean. Yeah, I don't care. That's me, and I think it's great. But what I want to ask you first, and this is the first of two questions: are you seeing a residual of that? Are you seeing that making a difference right now in DuPage County where you're at in terms of the amount of drugs that are available? Is it slowing anything down? Is it actually helping? Is it anything more than like really entertaining stuff to watch?
That is a ripple effect because they're always going to have supply in arrears. Dope dealers get their dope as few deliveries as possible and as big as deliveries as possible because they only want to take the risk once, twice versus 10 times. So we haven't seen the result because they've just started doing that. I think the first time I saw them blow up one of those boats was about 3 or 4 months ago. See, what you have to understand with Joe Biden's open borders, the borders were open for 4 years. So, and that's why you're still seeing these supply chains. It's not that you were just able to immigrate over here. So all this rehabilitation stuff that we do, I teach the class for National Sheriff Association rehabilitation in the correctional facility. But when I go, there's different sheriffs there teaching classes pertinent to their environment. Like California and Texas, they were doing classes on the illegal immigration. They're showing videos. And, Trump's not exaggerating about the jails and the mental health institutions. I watched videos of fences in the middle of nowhere that nobody was guarding with big holes in them. And people were pouring through. I watched hundreds of people pour through in orange jumpsuits. They didn't take the jumpsuits off, some of them. People still in military garb with weapons displayed walking through the fence into our country. So when you have a problem like that, there are such established back and forth routes. I'm investigating now, Russian drug cartel cases where they're killing families in Aurora, stuff like that. It's very frustrating because that guy got away too. He ran back to Russia. And now how am I going to I got to work with Kurds in the Interpol to try to get a guy out of Russia. I mean, that's next to impossible. So we can't even get an interview that way, but we have to put all the effort forth to investigate the crime anyway. That's your taxpayer money. So when we get this type of influx of people for 4 years, well, almost 5 now, you figure Trump's, only halfway through with this first year. This has been going on for 4.5 years. So they have tunnel systems. They have, ways to use drones to, guide areas where it's unguarded. They have routes in desolate areas. So that's going to take a lot of time to shut down. So those pathways are still open. Trump's working on that, and that's why he's blowing up drug boats and oil boats that are all contributing to terrorism and poisoning our children. But I'll tell you what, take the other side of that. We're doing it to ourselves. Now, when you get busted dealing a brick of fentanyl or heroin in this state, you're going to get out after you see a bond court judge. That means you did not meet the threshold, because to detain, you have to meet the threshold of being a harm to a specific person or a threat to society. So it's an if-then statement here. If you're not being detained, you're not being considered a threat to society. So you get let go, and here's some street stuff for you, folks. When a drug dealer gets caught with a brick of dope and they get let go, they owe somebody typically. So now they're going to have to deal another 3 bricks to just break even to who they owe. So they're going to overdose a whole bunch of other kids in the process, or adults, both. But the bottom line is they are a threat to society. You know how hard it is to go. I go to things about parents with overdosed children. That's why I first said children instead of adults, because I
Jim,
see so
before we
many
get
of
too
them.
far back from what you just said,
What's
a
that?
brick of fentanyl,
Mhm.
right? And I know a little something about fentanyl because I worked ambulances for a while, and you don't want to come in contact with it.
Mhm.
It's very deadly. So somebody who has a brick of fentanyl, what you're saying is, according to J.B. Pritzker and the Illinois Democrats, that is not considered dangerous. It's idiocracy because they clearly don't know what fentanyl is. Like, literally, you could die from touching it. You could die from
Yeah,
a little bit. It doesn't
micrograms.
take much. It's terribly dangerous, and they have deemed it, whatever, a brick. We're literally letting people walk for a brick.
Yeah, see, so you make a point to split hairs. You said the word dangerous, and I bet you could get even the people who wrote that law to say it is dangerous. But dangerous isn't how they wrote the law. You have to. They're working around this threat to society, threat to a specifically named person. So to be a threat to society, they're claiming that you're judging them before they did something if you can't name what they're going to do, right? That's the loop logic that they're using. But the bottom line is what it really means in the real world is we're letting people go, and instead of rehabilitating them, we're letting them go while they're detoxing, or more street language, they're tweaking or jonesing, and they typically don't make good decisions when you let them go like that.
What are
Just
you
saying.
going to do? What are you going to do day one if you get the governor's seat? What are you
So
going to do day one to change it? Because you're probably the guy out of everybody. And God, it's going to be so hard in March because all of you have become my friends. It's going to be really hard for me to vote for who I'm going to vote for. And I'm not going to say who it is.
sure.
But you being the guy who's probably out of the 3 the most qualified when it comes to this aspect, the Safety Act and all the criminal, you know firsthand what the issues are. What are you going to do with that knowledge to fix that day one? Because that's what everybody wants.
So here's the main things that I would be looking at. The first thing is the Safety Act would have to be at least UCR code driven, where we're holding offenders for offenses, not just because we're trying to avoid cash bail. We don't need cash bail. How about felonies and multiple misdemeanors would be fine. What could be doable day one is a total elimination of the sanctuary state. And the sanctuary state, any way you look at it, the reason I save so much money in my jail with rehabilitation, for every $1 spent in rehabilitation saves 19 in incarceration because warehousing humans is so expensive. Human beings. So the sanctuary state, between healthcare, 80% of our healthcare that our people are coming in, non-emergency. Ambulance runs went up from like $300 and change to like $1,400 on an ambulance run, statewide average. The hospital system's being abused, the education system's being abused. We're paying for college that was set after a $55 billion budget was offered on July 1st. And then in the following month, we added $2 billion for education and college for illegal immigrants. So all these human costs, the credit cards, the housing, that is so expensive, that can be done by executive order. And I would call Donald Trump the first day to get that done. So sanctuary state would be smoked on day one. Safety Act soon to follow. That would take a little more work though. But you know what? I don't believe that the voters in Chicago want the crime that they're having there. They have the strictest gun rules. And they're in their 13th year of being the highest murder capital, highest murder rate in the world. So this is the definition of insanity. Do you really think years 14 or
I tell you,
15 are
the
going to be
biggest thing
different
I
than the?
disagree with is with the concealed carry on the transit. You can't bring your gun on the train in Chicago, but somebody can bring a gallon of gasoline and set a girl on fire on the train. It's just,
After being arrested 72 times and let go.
Yeah, which is insane.
That's the Safety Act. That's the Safety Act. The other thing is, guys, we'd have to get rid of right away, or I shouldn't say get rid of. So, here's the thing. I want to qualify what my business acumens are. I mean, people, oh, you're a police chief. No, actually, I run a jail, a courthouse, which is like a little city, and the biggest law enforcement entity in the second biggest county. So I have an $80 million budget, 504 employees, 300 contractors. I'm the chief negotiator in the negotiations for all contracts and arbitrated awards. I've been doing this. I've run an $80 million budget for 12 years. 12 years and never been a dollar over my budget. Never once. I have a zero balance budget. If I buy a box of paper clips, it's on there for $2.50. There's that box of paper clips. You can find it. Bottom line is, I've done business budget. And there's I've done governor budget. Government. I'll get it right here. Government budget. So there's a difference between business budget and government budget. We have different rules we have to follow. And, one of the things that they're doing in the city, you guys know what NGOs are, right? Non-governmental organizations. And it's a way, and we're funneling.
Also known as Democrat-owned businesses, yes.
Well, right. So here's the problem is that, they can give Guitars Over Heroes $2 million this year. And they can give a softball team for a highway commissioner $600,000, and they can give $500,000 to Lincoln College, which I graduated from. That's where I got my 2-year degree. They've been closed down since 2022, but they got $500,000 in an NGO this year. These NGOs, doing the business portion of government for better part of 20 years as an administrator in a very large organization, I can't. And I almost said I can't understand. I shouldn't say that, because it's kind of like when I say I can't understand why they don't make you give an ID when you vote. It's because they don't want to, because that disrupts what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
They do these things because they want to achieve an objective. And, with the NGOs, they're doing this. They don't want to be foiable. They don't want to be auditable, because they could easily put in the contract, here's your metrics, and you have to deliver your metrics. You got to give the money back halfway through what you have left. And here's your disclaimer saying that you will allow an audit. You can add those things into account. You're the one with the money. You write whatever you want into the contract, and they have to honor it. But the fact that they don't, and I'm not saying they're so stupid that they don't know to do that. I think they're intentionally not adding that language in so they can funnel money out without people questioning it.
Bingo. Yeah, we know that's a lot of what it's done with these NGOs. They are essentially money laundering organizations. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But we know how these salaries just seem to vanish, or it gets handed from NGO to NGO to NGO. Everybody gets their little cut, and something needs to be done. Audits, accountability, and criminal charges. Because at the end of the day, this is taxpayer dollars, and it's getting stolen and laundered to various NGOs, charities, to line the pockets of the people that are facilitating an invasion or whatever else.
I just love what you just said. So that now you're going to get me excited, because see, that's what I keep saying. I was in detectives for over 6 years, and I ran financial crime. So that's what we did. We hunted down people, drug cartel dealers that are wiring money, anybody who was billionaires and they're embezzling all this money or shifting, charity functions that are really stealing money, retail ring thefts. That was some of the most fun work I ever did. That's why I ended up in that financial path of the sheriff's office for over 6 years, because that was the hunt. And that's how I still look at it, just like you did. We got them. Now we have the Illinois compiled statute that they violated. Let's go to a judge. Let's get a warrant signed. Let's make an arrest. And you know what? Guess what, guys? After I retire in less than 1 year, I will still be a certified police officer for 2 years. They're all going to jail if I get governor. I'm telling you, I'm going to flex those police powers, and we are going to be getting a lot of warrants.
That's awesome.
Good. Somebody needs to pay for this. I mean, this really is just a crime against all the federal taxpayers and all the people of Illinois on multiple levels, both the financial crimes and everything that's been done to the citizens there. And people are sick and tired of it. I talk to people on the South Side all the time. Chicago flips red, numerous others. I mean, I live in Ohio, but I mean, what's going on there is just a crime against humanity.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm glad you mentioned Chicago flips red. We hung out with them at the event, Danielle and Zoe. What awesome people. I don't know if they're watching right now, but
they're good people.
Hey, how are you guys? They were awesome. They bring a lot to the table. I hope they make it out on January 6th to hang out with me and Sheriff Mendrick.
Yeah, they were at your other event.
Illinois. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great event. We're going to have Roman there, who's running to replace the sheriff in Lake County. He's amazing. He's a great guy, and I've got a couple other surprises up my sleeve for that night. It's going to be a great event. Can you throw the slide up for that one more time, just so
Yeah.
everybody can look? And then I know we're getting short on time. We've got to go to the next segment.
Yeah, we do have another candidate joining us here in just about a minute. But yeah, go ahead. If you could give the audience the rundown on the event again to give them time to get what they need.
Yeah,
this
is not going to be your typical boring political rally. It's not going to be boring at all. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk real talk, but we're also going to have fun. We've got some pizza coming. We're going to have music in between talks. Everything's going to be really, really great. It's going to be a coming together. I've got some really special guests that are going to be out there from law enforcement, possibly from the FBI. We've got Sheriff Mendrick, of course. He's going to be our featured speaker. Roman, I myself will be there. And it's no real secret. I did it on January 6th because we're going to have Terry Newsom there as well to talk about the actual events of January 6th. He was there, as you guys know. So that's going to be really exciting and cool. It's going to be 3 hours of just, you blink your eyes, it's going to be over. We're probably going to have to extend it a little bit more. We did that at the last event. I ended up having to pay the DJ to stay a little bit longer because nobody wanted to leave because it was exciting. It was fun. It wasn't your typical boring event, and that's really what I like about this crew that we got here for the 2026 election in Illinois. It's going to be exciting. It's a great bunch of energetic people. It's not the typical boring Illinois politician type stuff. These guys are all exciting. It's going to be real. It's going to be in your face, and it's going to be a great time, and it's going to be important. So January 6th at Dockers North in Antioch, Illinois is where it's going to be. I'm excited. I can't wait. I might get there on the 5th and be early.
And stay through the 7th. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our other guest this evening. It's Lieutenant Colonel Michael Pierce. He's running down there in the 11th District. And Michael, if you could go ahead and give a brief introduction, and then we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Great to see you, Sheriff Mendrick. And I wanted to say thanks a lot for having me on, Mike and Mickey. I'm from the 11th District. I grew up in the district, native of, I grew up from Elgin all the way up, worked in Aurora, went in the Army after college in Naperville, 20 years in the Army over there, most of it overseas, a couple of deployments. Largest one was over in Iraq. I enlisted, became a lieutenant colonel after going to officer candidate school. Just kind of running just to make a difference out there, continue to serve Illinois. Get things right, focus on the big rocks. And I'm back here trying to make a difference to continue to serve our country and make a difference.
Mike, I gotta say something real quick. Just looking at Lieutenant Colonel Michael Pierce there, you are not the typical politician, and I like that. I think that's what we need. You come off as a regular guy. You come off as somebody I could sit down and maybe have a beer with and talk real with. So I want to know more about you. I'm glad that you mentioned where you were from because as heavily involved as I am, I didn't know where the 11th congressional district is. So I'm glad you mentioned that. What do you plan to bring to the table if you get elected? What are you going to do?
I'll tell you, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to be working with one of the next governors of Illinois down below you. We're gonna go out there and we are gonna work on bringing business and jobs back to Illinois. We're gonna work on lowering the cost of living and lowering taxes across the board. I think that has to be done in partnership with our folks with the state level, at the national level, and we need to make Illinois the prominent state up in Congress that it used to be. Right now, whether you like him or not, Dick Durbin still has a bit of clout. But once he's gone, Illinois really the Illinois senior folks out there are few and far between, and so we're really going to be in hot water here soon because as our infrastructure deteriorates, we're not in line to get the big contracts, and then we don't get the good jobs, and so it creates a really negative effect. So we've got to turn that around. And we can do that by working in partnership with each other and focusing on getting our folks taken care of here and stop worrying about the rest of the world.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm all America first. The rest of the world can wait. We've done enough. I think my whole life I've watched us help the rest of the world, and all this brokenhearted and sob story stuff, and they hate us for it. They hate us for it, so we should just be done with it. Call me mean, call me rude. I don't care. I care about me and mine. What's for my kids, what's for my family, what's for my neighborhood, what's for my people. And you said it perfectly. We're done helping the world. They don't need it because they don't care about us. They want to kill us anyway.
Yeah, Roger that. And I being overseas, I've been in about 25 different countries, and for all the people out there who don't like America, I challenge them to go and spend a few months in some of the places that I've been. I challenge them to go and ask if they would be willing to, if they want to change places with some of the people who've lived in what the former Soviet republics, what those people had to deal with just for a year. They're still playing catch up. 30 years after the fall of the Soviet Union. Some of those countries had to wait more than 50 years to be liberated because, we went to World War II supposedly to liberate Poland and everybody in Eastern Europe. And guess what? All we did was let the Russians roll in there, and they stayed for another 50 years, 40 years. So the inconsistencies and the hypocrisies, these people don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I've been to a socialist country at the very beginning of a revolution down in Central America. Back in 1985, I went down there. I was in college, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the Somoza regime had fallen a few years earlier, and I was down there in a ministry group. I was witnessing for Christ down there. And guess what? The same people who supposedly had replaced the dictatorship of the Somozas were the Ortegas. And guess what? Guess who today, 45 years after the revolution, are still in charge and still in power over there? Same people. So this socialism stuff is a crock. All it is it's state-sanctioned theft on a projected scale. So we need to turn people around. We need to get them to understand that you don't get if you don't work, and you have to work to be able to get somewhere. But in America, you can reach and achieve the American dream. Sheriff Mindrick and I were both examples of that. We had to make something out of ourselves. Nobody handed us anything. Nobody handed me a gold bar when I became a lieutenant. I had to work my butt off to get through college. I owed money. I kept on. I didn't get my loans paid off when I went in the Army. I had to pay my loans while I was in the Army still. I went on to officer school, and then I went on and I continued to work, and I got 3 kids who are out of college. My son just got out of the Army 2 weeks ago. He put himself through Virginia Military Institute. So hard work pays off, and we need to get that message out there. If somebody wants a recipe for success in life, it's called hard work.
Yeah, well said. And to your point, Mickey, that's what I like about both these guys is neither one of them are politicians. They both come from hard work and results, and that means something. And Sheriff Mindrick, I something that Michael's been really good about articulating is fixing some of the problems in Illinois. Like that right now, what's your phrase you always use, that you're exporting right now a lot of your key resources, especially younger workers, giving them a reason to stay, to work in Chicago, to work in the larger Illinois area, to bring jobs back. Like that's what it's going to take to succeed there.
Right. So, to make your point, and Mike, I agree with everything that you said. I like Mike. I think he is a great example of not a politician, but elected official. And we need more people like Mike running for office. Now, I got to go with something Mike said about socialism and then what you referred to basically with census. So you have to understand the whole game plan for all this, because I was like, why would Pritzker be over-regulating, overtaxing, making us less safe? So, and with a big grin on his face. Guys, if people like you and me leave the state, that's what he wants. So we're replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. We're replaceable with illegal immigrants. So if you export, let's use import, export on people. If you export your resistant populace, the ones that aren't conforming, get rid of them. And hey, you have to go through me to get to my people. They're his people. That's what he refers to as the illegal immigrant population. So, and I bring these people in. Now they're getting government benefits. So they're going to be conformists. They're going to do what you say. They're dependent on you for food, hotels, now college, all that kind of stuff. So you own them. They're gonna. And the beauty of it is, think about. Actually, I hate to credit them with anything like this, but it is smart in an evil sense, to where you're bringing them in. And then they're your populace, and they count in the census. So I keep my seats, my congressional seats. I don't lose those. So for now, they're helping me there. They're keeping my census up. They're a population that's going to be agreeable to me, and I'm going to chase the ones that aren't agreeable to me out. And over time, more and more of them switch seats, and it's socialism. Now I have a society that's predominantly here because they're getting free stuff. And they're doing the same thing with land. If you look at what they're doing, they widen a road anywhere in Illinois now, eminent domain, 3 feet on each side. They're raising those property taxes. The real reason they're doing that is to get you to miss a payment so they can bring in a probate and take that land, take that house. They're doing regressive estate taxes for farms, where they're taking your generational wealth when you transfer ownership of a farm even to your own children. And that's because they're leasing land. There was a movie with Michael Keaton called The Founder, was McDonald's. And he had a brilliant quote in that movie that you thought you were in the restaurant business. You're not. You're in the real estate business. So when you run all the land and all your people are dependent on you for benefits, you've achieved socialism. And if you don't see that coming, the roadmap, and that we're already probably 60% of the way there, you're blind. I mean, that's just what's coming.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think a lot of people in Illinois feel like there's no hope. They feel like there's no overcoming what's happened there, especially with this property tax thing. I mean, it was a stroke of luck on my part to have Chicago flips red right after the tax bills were handed out. And they were telling me about the residents there, just how furious they are, where a lot of these people that lived on the south side are now having to pick up the slack, and their property taxes were more than doubling.
That's on purpose.
Oh, I
They
know.
want their homes.
Mike, I'll tell you what, and I'm going to say this because I'm not afraid. I can't wait for Black Chicago to wake up and follow what Danielle and Zoe are saying at Flip Chicago Red.
It's true.
When
They're
wake up,
they're taking their properties.
yeah,
They're taking their properties. It's no different than the farms or the generational wealth. They're taking the Black generational wealth in Chicago also. They're doing it statewide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I say this the nicest way possible. The Democrats have dropped the blacks off at the orphanage, and they've adopted the illegal aliens, and that's what they've done. And
doubt.
Well,
that's just
if I can
100%
And you know what?
fact.
Hey
And
guys,
welcome.
so you know too, there's projected 26 million illegal aliens in the country. In 2023, our census on illegal immigrants was 550,000. So that was 2 years ago. We're probably closer to 650,000 just in Illinois alone. And hey, I gotta say, these Trump raids that they call them, or the Homan raids, or the federal raids, I have to inject this in here because it's so important. This is nothing but a political showpiece.
No,
Nothing. Because guess what? You're going to understand this because your background. There are 92 jails in this state. And this state you could drive for 7 hours in and still be in the same state. Trust me, that's what I'm doing all the time now. So it's a vast state, 92 jails. If we just allowed ICE access to our correctional facilities, there's this thing called ICE holds. When you notify them that you have somebody committed a crime other than immigration, but they're here illegally too, ICE has to pick them up within 3 days or they got to pay the full boat. So they have to do weekly pickups. If we started calling 92 jails with probably 600,000 illegal immigrants in this state, they would need to increase their headcount. They would go from being a proactive force to a transport division that had to visit 92 jails every single day to just do the pickups that are mandatorily theirs. So the raids are done because J.B. Pritzker will not allow ICE access to a correctional facility to just deal with the criminal element of immigration. They are the ones causing the collateral damage.
Yeah. And there's another thing too. I actually went down to Broadview a couple weeks ago. I tried to talk to some of the people, and I was, I can talk to anybody. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to agree with me or I'm going to agree with them. But I met this guy, Terry Newsom, down there. He and I, we really butted heads. That's a joke. But there's a lot of people down there, and I spoke with them. And I tried to explain to this young guy, I said, 20, 40 years ago, 40 years ago, I was your age. And I said, look, I understand where you're coming from here, but let me tell you a couple things. The taxes keep going up. the people that they're letting in. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what they're bringing. You don't know what the second and third term impacts of the drugs that have come in, or the human trafficking, or all of, the fact that every other woman has been violated on their way up here, and the fact that the crimes in all of these neighborhoods where people have been living in safety are no longer safe. We have to do something about that. And then the other thing is the disenfranchisement, and you touched on this earlier, sir, the disenfranchisement of Black America. Black Americans who came up from the South to the North to get a chance to have a good life, but whose jobs during the 80s and the 70s, the jobs started shipping. Part of it was this Rust Belt started to, dilapidate. And so those people that were being replaced, you can call it what you will, but that's a fact. And at the same time, they've had this double-edged sword going against them because the humongous spike in family planning, aka all of the people who've been pushing abortion at that one particular demographic. And so you take this, they've actually been using them to get the power, and then when they become no longer useful, they're actually casting them away, and they're found another way to kind of ride another horse as they're letting this one out. So Black Americans should wake up, because this is a serious threat to themselves and to potentially they had an opportunity up here. And they're finding that the schools here are further behind than the ones in Mississippi where their grandparents came from. I mean, it's just, it's fuzzy math. So I hope that some of them are listening, and I hope they'll do something about it, because certainly that's more I see it, and I'm going to stand up for them. They may not even know who I am, but I'm going to stand up for them and all people here in Illinois for those very reasons.
Yeah, we got to do something, because I'll tell you what, these are not your grandfather's illegal immigrants. These are not Mexicans. These people are from Venezuela. They're communists. They're from the Middle East, and they're all military-age men. And we saw it years ago when it all started with Biden. They're coming across the board. There's no women there. It was all 20-something men, mostly Middle Eastern or Venezuelan. The Venezuelans are bastards with the shit they do. I've never seen such cruel people and sick. And the Middle Easterns, we all know what I've not forgotten 9/11. A lot of this country has, and that's what's been flowing through the border here. We got to get them out. They got to go.
Yeah, they double down on stupid, as I like to say. I mean, look, you're looking at a guy 25 years in Europe. Okay, I was there on an Army training base when 9/11 happened, and one of my hall directors from college, he died in the Pentagon on 9/11, and he's the only, he's from Naperville, Illinois. Got a memorial to him, Dan Shannon, our commander. And we've forgotten about that. Those people out there who gave their lives for our country, and how have we repaired, how have we repaid their sacrifice by inviting even more people who hate our country in here. And, in Europe, there are countries, there are places over there where there are real no-go zones. And it's, not just one country, it's multiple countries across the board. Americans should wake up. I'm not all doom and gloom about America. I love America, and we have all the potential in the world. But we do need to raise our voices and wake people up to what is going on, so that they can make sure they have the same rights and privileges and safety, security, and opportunities that we've had as we've gone through in our lives. We want that for our kids and our grandkids,
Yeah. Well, we haven't only welcomed them, we've elected them to lead us. Look at this idiot Omar that married her brother to sneak him in the country, and then she married I don't know how many other ones. What the hell is wrong with us? If you go to Minnesota, it's not Minnesota anymore. It's Mogadishu. It's filled with them. Look at Michigan with these people with their Sharia law. We got to stop. We got to get them all out of here. They got to go. They got to go.
Well, it's certainly not how it used to be, because when you came to America, it used to be, you come to America, you got to learn the language, you learn how to play baseball, you learn how to play football, and you keep your culture at home, and you can share it, you can celebrate it. But guess what? You're in America now. You support America, you go in, you serve your country. That's what we need to bring back, national service. Many, many ways that we can get people in national service where they can actually work through a lot of these issues that we've been talking about. People need to understand what national cohesion and, that's what it's all about. Bringing people to be proud of our country. Our country, after World War II, what country does this? After you take back and free millions and millions of people in the population, then you feed the country that started the war for a year and a half. We saved 20 million Japanese after the war when they couldn't feed themselves. That's a fact. Facts are stubborn things.
I got a quick update on the Somali fraud. It's now ticked over $9 billion.
They said it was going to be 8. It went to 9. Oh, man.
Well, I have a source in the DOJ that he's told me he is confident it is going to hit 12 billion just in Minnesota. At least 2 billion here in Ohio, where they're now investigating a slightly different form of Medicaid fraud. And now we've got Maine popping off as this morning, and I don't even have any idea what the total is going to be there. But it's disgusting.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to check this out. So that is so cool you brought that up, because I just did so again, I was 6.5 years into Texas financial investigator. So I do investigation. So I've been investigating. I found somebody else running for an office that did some FOIAs, really interesting FOIAs, to DFS, Department of Family Services, right? And what they were trying to find out was Medicaid recipients that did not tender Social Security numbers, aka illegal. So they turned out 22,000 people. So, okay, here, I'm going to go really easy with this with the calculator. 22,000 people, and that's times that it's given them 11,000 a year. There's your number of what that cost. So $242 million
How many
for people
for that?
with think about this. And you know what, this lady also FOIA DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. They've been refusing to answer the FOIAs. So I can imagine how many unsoc recipients they're going to have. Look at this, folks. I mean, they're taking our benefit systems and just bastardizing them to give our money to everybody else until they collapse. And then nobody's going to have anything. So I want to be very clear on this. I'm not equating to people to animals in any way before I say this. This is a police thing that people always pulled their heartstrings all these years. You know, they would see in the winter that hunters were out there culling the herd of deers. And I would get these complaints saying, my God, they're killing the deers. And I understand, but they cull the deers because there's only so much foliage for them to eat. And if they don't cull them, they all die because they eat the food source and the entire species is exterminated. That's why they are legally able to cull the deer, because that's what keeps their species alive. Yep. They don't understand that. They are going to gobble up all of our resources till they're all gone and there's no more herd.
Well said.
It's an interesting thing, that they found so many millions and billions of dollars for these people who never paid into our system. And yet, and this is one of the platforms that I'm running on, our senior citizens on Social Security, many of whom worked full careers, but whose companies that they worked for went belly up and they lost their pension plans, and are disabled, or our veterans. We still have disabled veterans all over in Illinois and nationally. Our homeless of our own American population, homeless population, or unhoused, if you will, that doubled in the Biden in 4 years, not during Trump's time, but doubled. Where's the support for them? Why didn't they get any of this money? My brother's been disabled his whole life. He has a small subsistence, barely able to get by. I have to help him out every other month. The family helps out. He could certainly have benefited from something where he could have had a decent life. But instead, they keep all of those people in those three types of populations basically in a shoestring subsistence level, saying, well, you should have worked harder, or, well, you're disabled and we're not going to give you that much more, and we're not going to give you these. And then you've got millions of people and billions of dollars now, which has been shoved down these people. They get it. And while our own Americans, the children of the people who built this country, the grandchildren of people who went to war to save America and to save the world, and this is how we repay them. I mean, it's a shame. It's a stain on our country. And people talk about America, talk about this. How do you turn your back on your own? How do you turn your back on your veterans? Are you disabled? Are you senior citizens? It's criminal.
I tell you, all the laws they write, I would love to see somebody write a law outlawing homelessness for veterans. It should be illegal. It should be illegal. It should be illegal for a veteran to be homeless. And I don't mean punish the veteran. I mean, he should have a house. He should have a home. He should have somewhere to go, or she. It's disgusting. We have all these laws. They got laws to protect sea turtles all over the world. You can't have a certain kind of straw because it might get in the sea turtles' nose. but it's okay for a veteran to be homeless, sleeping out in the cold. Get out of here. I don't care about the turtles. I'm sorry. I care about veterans. I care about Americans. That's ridiculous.
1% of Americans are voting, or 1% of Americans actually serve in the armed forces right now. So think about that statistic. Only 1%, and half of those are, So we've got people out there who enjoy the benefits of the freedom. They protest against it, against the very people. And they, I was at the Army Navy game last week. I got chosen with the American Legion. I've been working with the Legion. I'm a life member, and they gave me some tickets. And there were people out there protesting at the Army Navy game. And now these cadets, they have to go through such rigid standards. And many of the people there have served in full careers for our country. But these people just wanted to rain on the parade, as if, what they're doing made any sense. You're talking to people who are going to sacrifice their lives for them at the drop of a hat because of an order. It's a shame.
Well, we are almost out of time, so I want to give both of you guys a minute. What is your message for our audience, and how can they help your campaign? Sheriff Mendrick, let's go to you first.
Thank you. My website is going to be Mendrick for the number 4 governor 2026.com. But hey, I got to get in one last thing that I really wanted to include here about the motor fuel tax. My promise of giving that back to the people. So this is something through, again, a lot of investigatory skills that I've harnessed to try to figure this one out. I was wondering why they were able to sweep over $300 million out of the motor fuel tax about 3 months ago. And they said they swept it because it was interest. Well, as it turns out, they are sidestepping a law where the law actually says it has to be used exclusively for road repair and infrastructure, and that these funds cannot be diverted. They're now trying to divert some of these funds to the RTA also, but the money they're sweeping is interest. And the reason they're getting over $300 million of interest is because they're not spending the capital, hence why the roads statewide are so bad. They're saving all that capital, not spending it to create an interest lump that they can sweep regularly and take the profits from you and leaving you unsafe. So what I promise to do is a safe thing. I'll be the first governor that came out of a jail instead of going into a jail. I will make crime illegal again, and I will make this state safe again. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Well said, and thank you for being here. And that is unbelievable. They're using the interest, leaving the money sit while the state's infrastructure falls apart. That should be criminal if it isn't.
I'll be a cop for 2 years after this is all over.
Michael, any words of wisdom, and what message do you want to leave our audience with here this evening?
Can completely concur with what the sheriff just mentioned about that. That we got to get something fixed about that. They slipped that in when they're 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning meetings. They took money that was earmarked for the entire state, and they used that, and it's just a slush fund to support their pensions because they've overcharged the state, and that's why the state has so much problem with that. So we've really got to get that fixed. So good luck with that, sir, and try and get it fixed if you can. Again, I'm Mike Pierce.
Mike.
Yeah, roger that. So I'm running 11th District, vote Pierce, number 4 Congress.com, LTC, RET, Michael Pierce for Congress. I'm on Facebook. I'm on a lot of the other TikTok, X, all the other platforms. I love this state. I grew up in this state. I believe in this state, and we've got to save it. And we've got to go out there and we got to rally the troops. We can do this, but we need everybody's help. We need to get good people who care about this country and who care about our state and focus on the big rocks and get those taken care of. And then afterwards, let's talk about some other things. But we've got to save this state. Thank you very much.
Well said, both of you. And again, thank you for joining us. Like I said earlier, I think you're both the kind of candidates that we really need right now. You're not lifelong politicians working your way up, lying to the people. You both come from a service role. You in law enforcement, Sheriff Mendrick, and Michael, you in the military. And we need more people like you stepping up. If we have any hopes of saving this country, we've got to stick to our guns. We can't keep negotiating with evil, giving things away piece by piece. Mickey, anything you want to add before I close this out here?
Oh, I have so much, but I'm going to end with this. Mike, it was great meeting you. I really like you. I'm going to invite you formally to come up to Antioch. I know it's maybe a little bit out of your realm, but we'd still love to have you up there on January 6th to hang out with myself and Sheriff Mendrick and mostly my neighbors, which are really, really great people. Jim, thank you always. You always respond to me and come
My
out for
pleasure,
everything.
brother.
You're a great guy. I'm going to see you on January 6th. Before that, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, because that's what I do. We celebrate Christmas here.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Christmas.
There's no holidays. It's Christmas.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's it. Thank you
Amen.
guys so much.
God
All
bless.
right. Yeah, God bless all of you. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you to the audience for joining us here this evening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back